Hello, hello. Welcome to Parkland Media. I am your host, Spade Parkland. Thank you for clicking on the video. According to my analytics, a lot of people who watch my content have not subscribed to the channel. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button to make sure you don't miss out on any notifications. Hit the notification bell and make sure it's set to all. Thanks for watching, and now enjoy the video.
It's showtime.
Hello, hello, hello. 2026 is here. We made it. Yes. And you know what 2026 means? That means From season 4 is inches away, at least the trailer is inches away from being put out there. We should know, I'm thinking sometime in January, this month, we should know when a trailer is going to drop and or when the season's going to start. That's what my prediction is for January. Happy New Year. Happy holidays. Hopefully everyone made it and they're safe. Hopefully there was no issues. In addition to continuing to do member only videos like I've been doing, and I'm here to tell you, in the channel membership, channel member videos, I go in. I think you'd enjoy it if you enjoyed my other From videos and other content, but no pressure. All right, no pressure, no pressure. So it is not clickbait. I'm going to kind of lay out my points. Some stuff will be a stretch. Other stuff will be a yoga stretch. But by the end of the video, you'll be like, okay, you know what? I see where you're coming from. This is a fan theory for the show called From on MGM Plus and Amazon Prime. Storywalking is the soul leaving the body. Storywalking is the soul leaving the body. Yeah. Now, some of you probably have already kind of guessed that. That is going to be the basis for me walking us through the idea that everyone is basically storywalking. Storywalking is the soul leaving the body, and we're going to start off with Julie when she storywalked. Okay, so she's officially storywalked. From her point of view, it's like she let go of Ethan's hand. Season 2, Randall, Marielle, and Julie were in the dungeon even though their bodies were in town. So all three of them were in town, their bodies were there, but they also were in the dungeon. So I think that the same way they were held captive in the dungeon, that's their souls, the same way that their soul was in the dungeon, Julie's soul is now in the dungeon. The process is called storywalking, but I think it's more like astral projection. Okay, so this is according to AI. Astral projection is the experience of consciousness or subtle astral body separating from the physical body, allowing it to travel to other places or dimensions, often feeling like an intentional out-of-body experience. So even though Ethan described it as storywalking, he's young. And I'm assuming that he's in elementary. So it's more than likely that he's explaining things based off of what he's been exposed to, which is like his stories that are children's stories, and maybe even something from The Boy in White or some type of energy. So he's explaining it to Julie, storywalking. But you and I, who have experienced the world, have more experience, know more stuff, we're going to basically say it's astral projecting, as in Julie's spirit person, soul, energy has physically left her body and is now interacting with the dungeon. And we see another version of her astral projection in the dungeon from season 2 when the Cicadas had possessed Randall, Julie, and Marielle. Your astral projection form is still able to interact with the environment, i.e. Julie throwing the rope down the void in the bottom of the well, and it can also be hurt. So when your astral projection form or soul gets damaged, your body gets damaged as well. So this is Julie looking at Julie. So Julie is time traveling. She is time traveling. Ethan said, once something is written, it can't be changed. You can't change the past. Even if you time travel or go backwards in time, you really can't go to the past. You'd be creating another timeline. And what you're going to when you're going backwards in time becomes a new timeline because you weren't there the first time, or there wasn't two of you the first time. So what I'm thinking is that she's not going to the past. She's just traveling backwards in time. If she were to interact with herself while chained to the wall, in theory, it would start another timeline. But I think in From, all timelines kind of converge together. And that's the reason why Boyd saw a different version of Ellis that could not have been created while he was initially trying to climb to the top before he got the rope. And also, that's the reason why Kenny, when he was on the phone with the man in the yellow suit, his mom was there. And after the cicadas touched Kenny's arm, Kenny woke up and he had the injury on his arm. So more about that when we get to that later on. Okay, so while Julie is story walking or time traveling, going backwards in time, whatever you want to call it, astral projecting, she's having a seizure. So her spirit person is not in her body and her body's having a seizure. So this is a little bit further on during the story walk. I'm still going to call story walk. Now Julie is navigating the caves. So while she's navigating the caves, she's left dungeon where people are being held captive. She's hearing the screaming, also throwing Boyd the rope and interacting with Martin. This is her navigating the caves. And this is basically season 2, episode 1, when Victor and Tabitha were navigating the caves. See right here? Julie is navigating the tunnels. She heard Tabitha's voice. She called out to her mom. She's navigating the tunnels away from the dungeon. She's still having the seizure. And so she's right now, as she's hearing the ghastly children, the teddy bears being sacrificed. So here's what I think happened. I think pulling her out of the ruins didn't necessarily stop her from story walking. What I believe is that Julie was having a seizure while her soul was separated from the body. In the dungeon where she traveled to and the tunnels, there was a lot of energy. The energy from the 3 screaming, talking about Marielle, Randall, Julie, them screaming was putting energy inside of her. And I know this is a stretch, it's a yoga stretch, but them screaming was basically projecting energy. And while she was navigating the tunnel, Ethan wasn't there to really just see. But I think while she was hearing the screaming in the dungeon, and then later on hearing screaming of the children being sacrificed when they were like, Ankui, while they were pouring their energy into the roots, and the roots became the symbol, and the symbol became the faraway tree, energy was being projected by both the children, the teddy bears, and the 3 that were captive. And Julie was absorbing that energy, and that's what made her have a seizure. And here's why I say that. So according to Google, a seizure is a sudden, uncontrolled burst of electrical activity in the brain, disrupting normal brain function and causing temporary changes in behavior, movement, awareness, or sensation, ranging from subtle staring spells to full body convulsions, shaking and stiffening. So what Julie experienced was full body convulsions, and it's due to uncontrolled burst of electricity. There's electricity all throughout our bodies. Electricity is the flow of electric charge, usually tiny particles called electrons, through a material, a fundamental force of nature that powers our modern world for lighting, heating, and running devices generated from sources like coal, gas, blah, blah, blah. But there's also electrical components in your body. So electricity is basically what makes you you as far as things functioning. Of course, there's cells, there's blood, everything is working. The electric part of you is what powers you. It's one of many things. So when the electrical part of you, and I'm paraphrasing, not to give you a whole science lesson or physics or biology lesson, but when the electrical part of you becomes overflowed or overloaded, that's what causes a seizure. A seizure is a sudden, uncontrolled burst of electrical activity in the brain. So there is an electrical network inside of you that makes you too much, which is uncontrolled. Too much creates the full body convulsion. So what Julie was experiencing was energy, and we'll just say electrical energy, from the screaming in the dungeon, in this theory, from the screaming in the dungeon, that energy that was uncontrolled and overloaded on their actual bodies, which was making them have seizures in town when the cicadas had possessed them. That energy plus the energy from the children that were pouring. Now, they use the term hope in the show, but hope is hope. So I think it really was energy. The children had the ability to project the energy that was inside of them into the roots. The roots became symbols, and the symbols became faraway trees. So there's something special about Fromland or the township that can allow the energy inside of you to be amplified to where it gives you more power than you normally would in the normal universe. And again, a seizure is a sudden, uncontrolled burst of electrical activity in the brain, disrupting normal brain function and causing temporary changes in behavior, movement, awareness, or sensation. So not trying to bore you with all the science talk, but I need to lay this out before getting on to the other part of the theory. And so electrical signals from nerve cells called action potentials are rapid transient changes in voltage that travel down a neuron's axon, carrying information as a flow of ions like sodium and potassium across the cell membrane. So this is more information that there is electric signals, electric functions inside of us. That's kind of the reason why when you pass out or you're unconscious, EMTs, the emergency medical technician, EMT, that's the reason why they have those machines, defibrillator. And they say clear, and then they shock you, and the electric shock resets an abnormal heartbeat back to normal. And it's commonly seen as an automated external defibrillator. The same way that they jumpstart your heart, or they use electricity to bring you back to being normal, is equivalent to giving a vehicle a jumpstart. So when it comes to a car battery, car batteries have power in them. The car battery's power just starts the vehicle. Once the vehicle is started, the mechanical energy of an engine gets converted into electrical energy by a converter. So the converter has a specific name. It's called an alternator, and it takes the mechanical energy from an engine and converts it to electrical energy. And that electrical energy is what powers the vehicle, like your radio, GPS, the computer, headlights, and everything electrical on the vehicle. And it also recharges the battery. So that's the reason why you jumpstart a battery and the vehicle runs fine, even though the battery is technically dead, is because of the alternator that converts the mechanical energy of the engine into electric energy to power the vehicle. So it's the same thing with a defibrillator. It does a jump start, and then once your body's going, then your body can convert energy inside of it to electric energy to power your entire body. So the human body runs on electricity generated by the movement of charged particles, ions like sodium, potassium, across cell membranes, creating tiny voltage differences that form electrical signals for everything from thought to muscle movement. Your body runs on electricity. There's electricity inside of you, and overload causes a seizure. So when Julie's soul left her body, she did the whole story walking astral projection thing. The energy in the place that she was going to overloaded her. That's why she was hurting while she was hearing the screaming and different things. And that energy was passed on to her actual physical body. And that's why she had the seizure. So Storywalking is where you're astral projecting your soul outside of itself, but your body can still be harmed. And your astral form has energy that goes along with it. If there's too much energy in the area, your body goes into a seizure based off what we've seen on the show. And I think that also goes into how there's power or electricity in the homes, but the wires don't go anywhere because the whole town has a bunch of energy that goes all through it and surrounds it, almost like the Force in Star Wars. There's energy all around, and the energy is so great that it powers the homes, even though the wires aren't connected to anything. The wires in themselves are able to get energy for the homes or electricity for the homes from the energy that is all throughout the township. Not only is your body being overloaded with energy that causes the seizure, but I also think that communicating with an energy being while you astral project also can cause a seizure. So this is season 1. The voices have taken control over Sarah's body. We know that they can because when in book 7-4, when Father Khatri wanted a sign that the voices were real, the voices forced Sarah to draw out the picture of the candy bar to prove that they are real and that they're watching. Right now, Sarah's going to get the writing on the arm from the voices. Okay, so this is from the voices, and they're communicating, kill the boy. Even though the voices communicated to Sarah, kill the boy, and she's like, oh, okay. And she's just gonna, go back to life as usual. Now, you see her start to break down as her soul, in this theory, as her soul is going to leave her body. No. Sarah had the message, kill the boy. Now this is where, in my opinion, her soul has left her body, and an energy being, maybe the man in the yellow suit, maybe something else, someone else, or maybe the voices themselves, they are now communicating directly to Sarah and is overloading her physical body with the energy while she's being communicated with directly. And so while being communicated with directly, too much energy, too much electrical energy than she can handle, that's what's causing the seizure. And we know that later on, Sarah's going to say that they told her, take out Ethan or Nathan will die. That's where this conversation is happening, or that's when this conversation happened as far as that, when the energy being or energy beings are communicating with her directly and overloading her with electric energy while communicating that to her about take out Ethan or Nathan will die. Okay, so this is Elgen on the bus. So he's asleep. He's asleep right here. No. We have to turn around. We can't be here. Yeah. Okay, so Elgin's wanting them to turn around, but they're already in town, so it's too late. Okay. Can you please just stop? Everyone, please return to your... See, they're already in town. So when Elgen woke up from that dream, they were already in the township driving through. You don't understand. Bad things are going to happen. Elgen is saying bad things are going to happen. So the dream that he had, he remembered. That's why he's doing all that. And so when Bacta finally does stop the bus and pull over, they're already in town and they're pulling over to the diner. So they're already in the town. It's too late. But Elgen remembered that dream to warn everyone, don't go into town. So season 2, episode 9 or 10, when he remembers what the boy in white told him, he remembered that from a separate dream. Okay, so this is Marielle with Elgen outside of the bus.
I can help you. You okay? You okay? Shit.
Now, normally this is called fainting, but in the show, in this theory, this is basically his soul being forced out of his body while an energy being, the boy in white, is communicating with Elgen.
Elgen?
So Elgen's having a seizure. So in my opinion, Elgen's soul has left his body, and the seizure is from the boy in white that is talking to him directly in the boy in white's true form. So just like if you're familiar with Stephen King's work, the Deadlights, when Pennywise, which is an avatar of the Deadlights, when the avatar Pennywise, aka It, is running around doing stuff, being Pennywise, the dancing clown, that's an avatar. Whenever Pennywise shows the Deadlights, that's the true form of Pennywise. And the Deadlights, the energy is so great, it causes people to instantly go into a trance, instantly die, instantly start having seizures, because the energy is so great. The energy of the Deadlights overloads the energy in your brain and causes you to have a seizure or go catatonic or whatever. So the Deadlights give you an overflow of energy. I think the boy in white is the same way. Maybe even the man in the yellow suit or any other thing in From, and that the true forms of them, the energy is so great that if they expose you to their true form, your body gets overloaded and you go into a seizure while your soul is outside of your body, while you're being communicated with.
Some help over here!
So in theory, based off the logic of Julie, the story walking, the seizure, and her walking around in the dungeon and stuff in spirit form, when your soul is separate from your body, story walking. That's the yoga stretch that we're doing. So right now, Elgen is technically story walking in that his astral form has left his body. He's being communicated with by the boy in white, which that's what he said later on in the season 2, the boy in white said the nursery rhyme to him in the true form of the boy in white. And that energy was so great it overloaded him. So technically, in this theory, Elgen is story walking. Okay, so this is the kimono woman holding Elgen underwater. All right, so this is where Donna's going to explain to Boyd that Elgen almost drowned in his sleep.
A house full of people on their last nerve, a madman locked in the bedroom, and last night Elgen almost drowned in his sleep.
When the kimono woman was holding him underwater, that was Elgen. He was asleep. But listen to what Elgen's going to tell Boyd about this quote-unquote dream. And I think I mentioned this in the previous video that the kimono woman and the music box monster were two separate things, obviously, right? So the music box monster to me was more like a beacon that summoned other evil things to an area. So the worms, the cicadas were separate from the music box monster.
This nightmare yours.
I was sitting in the bathtub in my dream.
In his dream.
And something pushed me under the water. Someone shook me awake and I started spitting up water.
Spitting up water once he woke up. Elgen's been remembering dreams this whole time. So when he came in on the bus, he woke up with the headphones on. We got to turn around, too late. And he remembered dreaming about Fromville from that, or maybe before that. But I'm going to assume for this theory, for this video, from that situation, he was dreaming about Fromville, woke up, we got to turn around, boom. Then the dream with the kimono woman, he remembers that. There's only 2 times in the show that I can think of where he was asleep and woke up from something, and he remembered it right afterwards. But with the seizure, there hasn't been any discussion of what that was about. And I think that's when the boy in white had communicated to Elgen, which was during the seizure, which is why he had the seizure. So we can see that in Elgen's dream, what the kimono woman did had to be real because he woke up spitting water. And we're going to witness the same thing, because the same thing happened to Kenny in the same episode. This is season 2, episode 8, where Kenny goes to sleep, wakes up with bruises from the cicadas. So before I show you Kenny, that's basically 2 instances of really there's 3 total, because you got to factor in Paula. There's 3 instances where someone was asleep and what happened in their dream affected them in real life. And I think that in real life we can call it sleeping, but I think it's equivalent to what happens as far as astral projection in the movie Insidious. So this is from the movie Insidious. This is where, I mean, if you haven't seen the movie, that's fine. It will be a spoiler. But so Elise, who is right here on the left, she put Josh right here on the right into a trance, and he projected his spirit body. He astral projected his spirit self, energy, his soul, whatever you want to call it. He projected it into the shadow world of the further. The further is like a dark and empty dimension or reality between heaven, earth, and hell. It's mirrored of the material world. So it's kind of like the upside down, like a bridge. That's what the further is. Really, all these horror movies and horror shows, they all take elements from each other. And I think they take them from Stephen King, and Stephen King may have got some stuff from some stuff, but they call it different things. But basically, the further is equivalent to the upside down if you're tracking Stranger Things. I think that when people are sleeping in real life, you go into your subconscious. But I think it's also possible that while sleeping, just like in the movie Insidious, you sometimes, maybe whether you control it or not, your astral projection form or your spirit body can leave your body and go to another dimension. That's what Elgen did. Elgen's spirit body or spirit form left his material body, and that's who the kimono woman attacked. Julie's spirit form is what went into the dungeon through Boyd the Rope, and also that's who was Storywalking. Because in Fromville, we don't see every possible person, and because of how From is, it's reasonable to believe that basically every time someone goes to sleep in From, they are astro projecting or story walking. Even though they might not be doing anything and they might not be harmed, just because we have so many instances of someone going to sleep and their material form is affected, story walking is somewhat equivalent to sleep. And it can also be equated to having a seizure, visions. When Tabitha went to the lighthouse, season 1, she climbed up the steps and she saw Jim hanging upside down. Then she physically went to it season 2 at the end before the boy in white pushed her out. So she basically astro projected, or her spirit form went to the actual lighthouse, went up and saw some stuff. So anytime someone story walks, spirit walks, goes into a trance, a vision, their spirit form in this theory is leaving their body and they're seeing things equivalent to like Jade seeing Jasper yell at him. Any and everyone more than likely is story walking. They just don't share information to understand what they're doing. Boyd is like, whatever, he don't care, but it's possible, I think, because of Fromville. Fromville could be, if we're leaning towards other media in the same genre, From could be the upside down. It could be the further. It could basically be a mirrored version of the material world, and also a Trappist set that would explain why Boyd saw another version of Ellis that couldn't have been created. That could also explain why Kenny was talking to his mom in his dream, and his mom was acting just like perfectly normal. Okay, so it's the beginning of the episode, season 2, episode 8, Forest for the Trees. So we got Kenny, and then we got Tien Chen Lu. So in this mirrored world, Tien Chen Lu is making breakfast for Kenny. As we've seen other times in the show, every time for breakfast, Tien Chen Lu is in the diner making breakfast for the entire town, and Kenny would go and get like a to-go plate or eat in the diner. So in this mirrored world, Tien Chen Lu is making breakfast just for Kenny. You could say that maybe she woke up early and made Kenny breakfast in this mirrored world and was going to go off to the diner. But in this theory, I believe that more than one person worked at the diner, or maybe Tien Chen Lu didn't work at the diner, and that's why she's here making breakfast in this mirrored world. So just like Ellis, that was at the bottom of the well, that was a different version of Ellis that couldn't have possibly be him, because when Boyd found out that he got a boat, he got the boat key while in the vehicle driving into town And then after getting the boat key and finding out about the boat, he saw the tree and they were stuck in town. So that version of Ellis wouldn't be possible. I believe that Ellis was from a mirrored world, which further kind of goes into the idea of this being a mirrored reality that Kenny has astral projected into in his sleep.
嗰個人咧，
仲未瞓醒嘅，你肚唔肚餓啊？
少少啦。
坐低，我整緊你最中意食嘅，你捉佢啊！阿仔，你聽。
So did you see Tian Chen Lu? She seemed surprised the phone was ringing. So this is taking place in Fromville.
Hello?
So the man in the yellow suit is talking to Kenny on the phone, saying the nursery rhyme more than once. It's a theory and a theory. So I think that the man in the yellow suit is talking to Kenny on a phone in this shadowy world of From. I've said previously in a previous video, it's like another dimension or a higher state of existence, because when it comes to being able to see something, we live in a 4D world. That's length, width, height, and time. People who are in a 2D world, they see everything on a flat surface, length, and just width. With us being 4D, we see things at a higher state of existence, and going beyond 4D just means being aware something exists or being able to perceive it with your senses. So someone who is 2D or two-dimensional, that's on a flat surface like a sheet of paper, they only can perceive the world through a two-dimensional plane or like a flat surface, whereas someone who's 4D can perceive the world higher than 2D, but we're limited with length, width, height, and time. When I was mentioning about 10th dimensional being, it's just the idea of you have a person, place, thing, or whatever. They're aware of more things in the world than we are at 4D. Taking it to a biblical way of thinking, when Adam and Eve were first created, God basically created both of them and they were blinded. They could see, but they couldn't see at the level of God. When Adam and Eve ate from the apple from the tree of knowledge, their eyes were opened and they were able to see the world at a higher dimensional plane, to where they became aware of stuff that made them equivalent to God as far as being aware of stuff. So I don't know if Adam and Eve were beyond 4D, but according to the Bible, according to the serpent, you'd be just like God. And there's acknowledgement they were just like God, being aware of good and evil and other things. So being aware means you can perceive something. So I think the man in the yellow suit, he's in town when he's at a higher state of existence, and he's picking up phones in the houses and he's talking to people on phones. So right now could be in a different house talking to Kenny on the phone. Kenny's material body is sleep. This right here that we're seeing is Kenny's energy self, or his spirit, his soul outside of his body, actually talking on a phone. Just like how the further and the upside down are like a mirrored version of the material world, there's different levels of material versions. It's going to get wacky. So when you're in the upside down and you're at the lab in the mirrored upside down is equivalent to the lab in Hawkins. There probably is a higher state of existence, like a higher dimensional state of existence that's also mirrored to the upside down bridge that also has a lab, because all the upside down is a bridge to another universe, which was the alien universe known as Dimension X. All the bridge was it connected Hawkins, which was the regular universe, to Dimension X, which was the alien universe. Two different universes, multiverse, were connected by this bridge, which was the upside down. With the bridge being a mirrored version of the material world, it's possible there could have been more than one bridge, meaning a bridge that also mirrors Hawkins that leads to another dimension, like Dimension Y. It's reasonable to believe that there's like a bunch of different bridges that connects different parts of the multiverse, and that's how you get to them, is through these bridges. So in other words, It could be another bridge, or it could be a bridge on top of a bridge. And what I mean by bridge on top of a bridge is like in Inception, they were going all the way down to putting dreams within dreams to implant information, which was Inception. And normally they would go in someone's dreams and take information out. So if it's possible to go lower and lower and lower into someone's dream, it's possible to go higher and higher and higher to a state of existence and still communicate with that person. I don't want to get too confusing and too trippy, but I think we're seeing right now is Kenny's spirit person is in a shadowy version of From, or a mirrored version of From. And there's other mirrored versions of From, and there's also higher states of existence where with Kenny's spirit form, let's say right now he's in 5D. There's more than likely a 10D level that is going to be mirrored to From. That's going to have the same setup and everything, but you can see more things, you can see more people and do more stuff.
Hello?
So that's definitely the man in the yellow suit.
Who is this?
To me, that explains why Jim took the phone off the wall in like a different episode and the phone was still ringing, because the phone is not connected to an actual telephone line or telephone pole. The phone is connected to another phone in a mirrored state of existence or a higher state of existence. So in theory, Phone Thomas was a real thing. It wasn't like the man in the yellow suit imitating Thomas's voice. I mean, it could be, but Phone Thomas was a real thing. It wasn't something that they imagined. Same thing with the man in the yellow suit. He was able to talk to Jim on Jim's radio because the man in the yellow suit was more than likely in a mirrored version of From, maybe in a spirit form or something, talking to Jim on the same radio that Jim was using. So in other words, the man in the yellow suit is sitting there with the same radio Jim's using and probably can see Jim using the radio. And he's like, this is Jim Matthews, because he's looking right at Jim. You basically can be talking to someone on the same phone that you have from the mirrored version connected to the material version. And it's like the two phones that you be talking on are connected to each other because they're like linked.
Listen.
All right, so they're not ready yet. I'm sure there's people out there that do consume insects. They do consume bugs. No judgment. I don't think people in Fromville would consume insects. I don't think they've gotten that far as starving. So this Tien Chen Lu is like a mirrored version of the real Tien Chen Lu. So to her, this is normal. To Kenny, he's like, what the heck? Because they don't do that in the material world. And now here comes the the music box monster. The music box monster is basically able to be inside of this mirrored Fromville, because the music box monster is also able to exist at a higher state of existence, to be able to be in Kenny's dream and interact with Kenny's spirit form. So Kenny just woke up, and I think what it is that he astral projected to this mirrored Fromville, a different state of existence, higher state of existence. He was able to perceive other things, and that's the reason why the cicada, when it burnt his spirit form, it also burnt his human body.
And
see, that's the mark right there. Just like with Julie, her spirit form left her body, threw Boyd the rope. Kenny's spirit form left his body, got burnt by a cicada. Same thing with Paula. When Paula was asleep, Paula's spirit form left the body, was ate up by the cicadas, and her material body was ate up in real life. So with that being said, from seeing Elgen, Kenny, me talking about Paula, Julie, and even Ethan having the seizure in season 1, and in him having the seizure, he was able to see things. It's reasonable to believe in this theory that basically everybody can and has story walked, even if they didn't actually go anywhere. Even Jade, even Tabitha, like I named, they're all story walking. Uh-oh. Wow. Okay, a little drama to start off 2026. So Sid Vicious 6505. He had a little, I took it as hate mail. So he commented on the black creature is Bacta and Elgin's ancestor theory. A lot of yoga stretching like we did today. He says, Parkland, man, you need to take a break. Wow, take a break. We are on the cusp of season 4. We are on the cusp of season 4.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
See, Sid Vicious, you should have came with this like December of last year. No, not last year. December 2024. We've been doing theory videos, theory comments, theory on From for like a year plus. When everyone left, I'm going to say November 2024, we were still cranking them out, full speed ahead at finish strong 2024. Then 2025, we were going hard in the paint. And you wait till the end of 2025 to try to put the anchor down to the ship, to try to jump in front of the diesel truck and be like, no, stop it.
Oh, sweetie, it doesn't work that way.
Nah, it doesn't, because we waiting on season 4. Ain't no way we gonna stop this train now. You waited too late. But I admire your dedication, because there's a lot of From planers. Some of them don't get screen time. Others do. Today you do. So I took it that he might have been a From planer. Parkland, man, you need to take a break, watch another show for a bit. I watch plenty of shows. Or I am genuinely concerned you could lose touch with reality. How so? I even did it, Welcome to Derry. And I'm going to be working on doing another video or a series of videos for Severance. So I watch plenty of shows. And plus I touch grass. Spade Parkland TV channel, I show myself walking around Vegas, getting steps in. So anyway, so basically I touch grass almost every day or every other day. So what are you talking about? I know you're hung up on the Creatures in Teddy Bear Cave event dating to late 15th, 16th century. Wow. See, so I'm not going to read the rest of it because it's nonsense. So I responded, Sid Vicious has become a From planer.
It was embarrassing.
I know. I was rooting for you. I thought you were one of the good ones. I've seen you around. I thought you was one of the good ones. But no, he's complaining. Hey, stop with the content. Don't do it. And imagine if you were a part of the channel membership and you were to really see me crank it out. Because on the channel membership, I go in. I know you'd be having a seizure like Sarah and Elgen and Ethan if you were a part of the channel membership. So I was rooting for you. Is anyone else tired of From content? YouTube held the post for review. Should he go into the box or be forgiven like Sarah? That's what I posted. And so here's what the comments are saying. Everyone is like, box him up, into the box. The box for you. That's what everybody's saying. No one's on your side as far as stopping the plane or turning the plane around or landing the plane. No one's on your side as far as stopping the train. Everyone else is like, yeah, give me more. Season 4, let's go. So guess what? Sid Vicious 6505, let me help you out. Since you want another show and you did it in a way that was kind of like unapproved by the family, you're going into the box. You're blocked. This is you going in the box. I hate to do it. See, I'm like Boyd. I don't even want to look. I don't want to look. Sid, I don't want to look. But I got to. I got to. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. It always pains my heart when I got to do it. But some people who are from planers, some stuff you can kind of be like, okay, maybe they're working out something in real life. Maybe they're on some weird stuff. Other times it's just like, you know what? You got to go. You got to go. I know. You brought this on yourself. He brought it on himself. He brought it on himself, y'all. What can you do? So this is the actual comment section in YouTube Studio that I can see. Hide user from the channel. Sid Vicious, you're in the box. Goodbye. There it is. All right, so we got one more. I know you all are like, I'm tired of this. I hate this.
You can't save them all.
Yeah, you can't. Another from planer. Not going to block or put her in the box.
Oh my God!
I know another one. I know. So I'm not gonna do the box on this one. I'll explain why. So this is J Reen 6523. She's talking on the Creature of Color video, same one that the other guy was mentioning. She says, you just had to get on the middle passage, didn't happen foolery. You'd lose large numbers. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to stop. I stopped reading at that point, and here's why. So, yeah, and they did. And I don't know what the laugh out loud was for. So you're basically telling me you just had to get on the middle passage, didn't happen, you lose large numbers. That's what I said in the video. And you said, yeah, and they did. So you're saying that I'm right. And you're also confirming and co-signing, not only am I right, they actually did lose a lot of numbers, and the middle passage more than likely didn't happen. So you basically are somewhat from planing. Either you want my attention, or you feel like what I said, even though it's true and maybe even factual, I shouldn't have said it. No different than the believers, the Bible believers, the religious folks. When I use religion or use Bible scriptures to illustrate a point, they start squirming in their chair, typing on the keyboard or in their phone pad really, really loud and feverishly. They get upset, they get angry, because even though they know I'm right about Jesus basically was describing cannibalism to get into heaven, they know it's right, they know it's in the book, I show it on the screen, but they don't want me to say it. And that's the problem with collectivists. Collectivists, they feel like if you don't think the way they think, you're wrong. Even if you are right, you're wrong because they say you're wrong. And so I'm going to read the rest of it. But she's already said that, yeah, and they did, meaning that not only was I right and am right, she's co-signing what I'm saying, but let's just see. But she calls it foolery. So let's just see what she believes is not foolery and what she's making in her statement. Yeah, and they did, laugh out loud. Very poor, lazy scholarship. How, if I'm right and you're co-signing that I'm right? How could it be very poor, lazy scholarship if you're saying I'm right? You're co-signing what I said. If anything, I think you're projecting. I think you're projecting that you have very poor, lazy scholarship, cognitive dissonance, even though you basically agree with what I said, and straight up ignoring a lot of things builds, like, what things am I ignoring? Builds this opinion, an opinion that you agreed on and co-signed that I'm right about. It does not stand up. How does it not stand up when you're agreeing with what I said? Irresponsible, especially at this time in history. So every point in time is a time in history. Because as I'm speaking to you right now, 10 minutes from now, it's the past and it becomes history. So it doesn't matter if it's said today, tomorrow, next week, last week. Like you said, yeah, and they did. So it is the truth. and to a certain extent factual, even though we can't go backwards in time and witness it for ourselves. There's enough evidence that the Middle Passage more than likely didn't happen the way history books say and the way different pro-communities say it happened. And they would have lost a lot of large numbers. It makes more sense for an occupying force that wants to colonize to defeat, conquer, and enslave the people who were there versus bringing in outside help. It just would make more sense. And it doesn't really matter what this time in history is. So to me, the whole, especially at this time in history, is that J-Reen 6523 has an agenda. So even though she called it foolery, even though she was projecting with a very poor, lazy scholarship, cognitive dissonance, even though she said all that, I'm not going to put her in the box, not going to block her. I'm just going to delete the comment. And then this is where I normally, anytime someone does a front plane or becomes a front planer, I read the comment. As long as it's not too crazy, I'll just delete the comment. And then if they keep on with the front planing, they got a problem. They got to go. So J-Reen 6523, comment is deleted. You still here. Okay, so you're still surviving and heading on till season 4. If you feel like, you know what, I don't want to support you anymore. I hate this channel. I hate you. I hate everything that you say. Then you can just see yourself out the door. If not, I appreciate your support. Thank you for watching. Comment removed. And that's everything. We've dealt with the business. We've dealt with the negative stuff as far as the business. Now we can get on to some fun stuff. All right, the fun part, the part where lights on, you have no idea.
If you haven't done so, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you like the stream, fam. That helps with the algo. And welcome all.
Yes. All right. So we're going to do some quick donations. It's you all seen them on the community tab. We're going to just kind of breeze through them real quickly and then get back to the broadcast.
You're also keeping the lights on around me. What is up?
Thank you, Amanda Kenny, 4997, the GOAT, greatest of all time. She who remains first of her name, the great one, the GOAT. She says, happy holiday, Spade. I appreciate that. Thank you for all your great videos. I think the collar in Miranda's paintings are actually a rough collar, but I could be wrong. There's a theory that the colony of Roanoke somehow did survive, but in some other plane of existence. And I'm glad that you commented that, because this video is basically talking about everyone being able to story walk, astral project. Everyone's done it in different forms, whether they realize it or not, and they've gone to another plane of existence, like a mirrored world. So thank you, Amanda, for that. I think you're spot on. I think it'd be awesome if the show incorporates that they do go to a mirrored version of Fromville and they see the hotel, they see a lot other stuff and other people. That'd be awesome. So I agree with the monsters, and those monsters are the reincarnated versions of the original Jade and original Tabitha. For all we know, the only time the boy in white has ever been inside of a building is the church, is because that is where the original rituals and Faustian bargain were made. And he is it the whole time. And he and the man in the yellow suit both were reciting the nursery rhyme. The boy in white recited it to Elgen. The man in the yellow suit, I just played it, recited it to Kenny. Seems kind of odd. They both are reciting the same nursery rhyme. Both of them reciting it. And then you know what? Another theory is, I think the person who's been giving people all these seizures is the boy in white. Like, he communicates to you in his true form, like deadlights, and the energy from his true form is so great it overwhelms and overwhelms the electricity in your brain, like I just showed in the beginning part of the video, and it causes you to be overloaded with energy, and you have a seizure. And he is it the whole time. He and the man in the yellow suit both were reciting the nursery rhyme, and the boy in the boy in white set Boyd up to be trapped. Remember, the boy in white told Sarah, "Get in there, you'll be safe." Boyd wasn't safe. So to his credit, the boy in white did not say, "Sarah, you and Boyd will be safe." He said, "Sarah, you will be safe." Guess what? Boyd wasn't safe, but thankfully, Julie was able to story walk and throw Boyd the rope. So he, in my opinion, I think he set Boyd up to be trapped. He's been giving people seizures. He was a part of the Colony House massacre. He's been doing a lot of shady stuff, and the boy in white can't be trusted. I think the boy in white getting older on the show canonically means that he's getting stronger. Thank you for the super thanks and being a channel member. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it. Adventurous Exile, thank you, thank you. I appreciate the donation. And thank you for being a channel member. Same thing for Amanda Kenny. Oh man, not Parkland roasting me. It's all good and fun though. This video is so far. Yoga stretch feels like I put my leg through a faraway tree, but it's all good as long as you don't throw me in the box. Don't worry, you're not in the box. You're not in the box. Thanks for this. Now I'm off to hype you up. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Hype me up. I said, thank you for the super thanks. Connecting the black creature to Bacta and Elgen was yoga that wrecked my keyboard. That was a super yoga stretch. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be honest. Like when I started to, in my mind, put together the ideas, my first thought was, I want to do something for the creature of color. I don't know how to piece it together. It came together. It was a stretch. It was a yoga stretch, but we got what we got. Okay. We got what we got. Jenna, awesome sauce. Thank you for the super thanks. I appreciate it. Says, Merry Christmas. I got some new yoga pants, so I'll be ready for all the theories. Yeah, season 4 is probably going to be a bunch of stretching. I mean, we're stretching now with everybody can story walk. Everyone has story walk. So we definitely stretching and doing it up. So thank you, Jenna, awesome sauce, for the super thanks. And when season 4 comes out, the yoga stretching will be breaking legs and backs. Yes. Amanda with another, doing the thing. Yeah. Thank you for being a channel member. Thank you for the new video. This is like a channel membership. I do like when you post these reaction type videos. I do agree with you on this one wholeheartedly. Yeah, you're welcome. I'm going to be cranking out more reaction videos. We are going to be doing it big, doing it big. So thank you, Amanda, for the super thanks. I appreciate it. Got another one for Adventurous Exile. Says, I think Tabitha's words to Ethan will have a profound effect on him now that Jim has been unalived. Yikes. Yikes, yikes, yikes. The ones about Norman not being able to be dead because monsters are not real. He may end up on a quest trying to revive Jim from the Lake of Tears or the lake in Fromville, or may push him down a path of evil. We know future Julie tries to bring him back or save him through story walking. And I think the irony is that Julie's story walking is what caused Jim to be unalived in the first place. So here's what I'm thinking. I think when in the regular timeline, when they found Jim was throat ripped out, he's dead. They don't know who did it or how it was done. Future Julie figured out how to story walk and control it. She went to the actual place to try to save Jim, and that's what kind of got him killed, because instead of him running from the man in the yellow suit, he stayed to protect Julie and got his throat ripped out. So it's kind of like a time loop, where it's really unknown who ripped out Jim's throat the first time, but it becomes the man in the yellow suit. Adventurous Exile, I appreciate it. And it would be interesting if Ethan, somehow with a yoga stretch on the show, that they make it to where Ethan becomes the man in the yellow suit. That would suck. But I think it would be interesting. It definitely would be interesting. So thank you for the super thanks. I appreciate it. I believe Ethan and Julie will blame Tabitha for Jim's death. She left him like she left Julie and Ethan for mysteries when going to the lighthouse. Julie had the heart-to-heart with Tabitha in the basement about Thomas, And it sounded like she was more mad at Tabitha about the divorce than her dad. So Julie had the heart-to-heart with Tabitha about how they had 2 other children. They kind of connected, and guess what Tabitha did? Tabitha left them behind. So Tabitha had the heart-to-heart with Julie. Julie poured her heart out. Tabitha still left. And then now Jim is dead? Yeah, they're going to blame Tabitha for it. And then imagine if they find out that Tabitha used to be married to Jade. So also Tabitha will reveal she was Miranda and Jade was Christopher. It might be said they eliminated Jim so they could move forward together. Okay, I mean, that would be interesting. Yeah, that would make anybody upset. Imagine you find out your parents were getting a divorce. Your mom was acting cold and indifferent to Jim, giving mixed signals. Jim has been there the whole time, been loving, caring. He ain't changed, ain't switched up and from Bill. Tabitha not only left you all for the lighthouse, came back empty-handed. And then when Tabitha had the vision of being Miranda, when she hugged Victor, she shunned Julie. Made a live stream or a video about that where she was shunning Julie, didn't want Julie to touch her. And now all of a sudden dad is deceased and you and Jade have been hanging around and y'all were married in a past life. When you say reincarnation, do you really mean you all have been together before dad or something? Or, you know, it's a lot of ways you can kind of stew on that and go down and dwell on it to where it can start festering in your mind that mom is somehow responsible. Mom did it. But anyways, thank you, Adventurous Exile, for the super thanks. I appreciate it. Adventurous Exile, thank you for another super thanks. I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Says, Talisman has a sun side and a moon side. The moon is white and seems like the night creatures wear a lot of white. What if the man in yellow suit is a day walking creature and the talisman will repel a day monster? It's just like the night monster, but the townspeople can only be outside at night now due to everything changing. So my understanding is that during the day, the talisman stones stay in place, and that when Boyd hands out talisman stones like candy, he's handing out extras. So when people go and touch the talisman stone, they're like touching it to make sure that it's hanging up in place, but it never like really just comes off of its place, from my understanding. So I think that if the talisman stone were to repel something like the kimono creature, the music box monster, it would repel them even during the day. So here's my theory. I think that Fromville is just a type of place where energy, like electricity, shine, hope, which I think is the same thing as shine, energy, whatever, it's amplified in From. So when the creatures sleep, the creatures are also astral projecting a version of themselves. Like I said in the previous video, I think the creatures sold their soul to it and became creatures. But I think that the actual payment is when they're finally destroyed once and for all, and then their souls belong to it or belong to the devil. So in other words, they sold their soul and they're basically renting it back. So I'm thinking that's the kind of the way it is if there was a second Faustian bargain to create the trap and they sold their souls. Like, we sold our souls, but we're leasing it, and the time to pay is when our everlasting life runs out. So I said thank you for the super thanks. I don't think the man in the yellow suit is a creature since he didn't change forms when he took out Jim. The boy in white didn't use much effort to push Tabitha out of the lighthouse, and she flew through the wall like a rag doll. So I believe the man in yellow and the boy in white are the same thing, and both want what they perceive to be best for the township, like Victor. Instead of sun and moon, the talisman stone symbols could be on and off, or half sun and half moon represent harmony and balance, or new life and rebirth. The sun and moon are usually depicted as complete circles. Usually when a stick figure has arms upward, it means success, celebration, victory, and pride. It does look kind of like a thumbprint. It's kind of a blink and you miss it, but the thumbprint appears to be right there. That's where you see the thumbprint. Now, I think it could be a production thing where someone in the art department, when making the stone, they left the thumbprint on accident. because the stone in the grotto cave that had a close up doesn't have a thumbprint, and this other one doesn't have a thumbprint either. So this unique thumbprint to me may just be something from the art department, and it may not necessarily be explored in story. It could be, but it does appear to be a thumbprint right there. The sun and moon are usually depicted as like a complete circle. Or if you have it to where the sun and moon are like together, meaning harmony, they would be kind of like side to side, but they're usually together when it means that harmonious symbol. One way to look at it is on, and also could be off. It could be either thing. And then the hands bit up could be something about celebration or victory. On this one, which may be a fan version, the neck part is connected. So when you zoom in, it appears that the ones that are definitely in show that I found, there's no line on either of these that connects the circle at the top to the rest of the figure. So it's not like I know we all think it could be a person, but there's no line for a neck. And they could make a neck line real easily like that, but they didn't do it. And that's basically on these two talisman stones that we see. There's no actual neck connected. So it may not necessarily be an actual person. For all we know, this could be a multitude of symbols. What we think are figures could be just multiple symbols put together. It might not necessarily mean people. It may be a language. Because we know that these are faraway trees from looking at the cave painting. We're all believing and knowing these are faraway trees and not Fs. So the same way these could be faraway trees, these symbols right here might not be people, but they could be like maybe something pertaining to like a deity, or maybe the talisman stones are a part of some type of ritual that we don't know about. Maybe season 4 will explore it more. But right now, my running theory is that Miranda had a vision of the talisman stones in the grotto cave. She went to the grotto cave. There were no talisman stones, so she made them, thinking that maybe the vision was telling her to make something, when in actuality, the vision was just showing a future version of something that she was going to make, or that something that was going to be made. And so she made it because it wasn't made, and she ended up making what she saw in her future vision. That way, as far as the talisman stones, the bottle trees, and maybe even the numbers on the pieces of paper, that Miranda made all that stuff. She could have even made the artwork or statues at the settlement. She could have made those too. They seem kind of artsy, as if she's making versions of the ghoulish children and made them right there at the settlement. Maybe we'll know something season 4, but I believe that there's no wrong answers, so anybody can be right until we see it on the show. So thank you, Adventurous Exile, for the super thanks. I appreciate it. And we got one from another channel member, Mike O'Sullivan. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it. Says the boy in white also been lurking over your left shoulder for a while now, looking real shifty too. I think Jade has your back though. Happy New Year to all. Yeah, thank you, Michael Sullivan. I responded with thanks for the super thanks. The boy in white not going inside homes since the talisman stones were found. He hasn't done that. We ain't seen him indoors. He's been an outdoor guy. He was indoors for Christopher before the talisman stones were found. He's been contradicting himself, saying he won't help, but pushed Tabitha out of the lighthouse, told Sarah to get into the faraway tree, plotting with Victor, and abandoning Victor for years, but then showing up for Ethan makes the boy in white shiesty. He can't be trusted, and I think the boy in white's been giving people seizures when talking to him. For all we know, the boy in white could be the big bad this whole time. That would be the ultimate twist if that's the case, where he has been the big bad all along and he's been basically needing people to do stuff in order for him to grow in power. If you think about it, in a way, figuratively speaking, Jade is Adam and Tabitha is Eve. God never intended for Adam and Eve to have knowledge. He said, eat from every tree in the garden except for the one in the center, the tree of knowledge. Who would the serpent be? I'll let you think about it. Think about it. Adam and Eve were content, running around, looking at mysteries, not really getting anywhere. Who could the serpent be that told Eve, eat from the tree, and once you eat from it, you'll be just like God? Jim, Jim is basically the serpent, if you think about it. Jim has helped Tabitha and Jade push forward with the mystery machine, solving mysteries, figuring stuff out, and it got them to the point where they're at the tree and their eyes were opened and they remembered. Jade and Tabitha were not supposed to remember, and now they remember. God did punish Adam and Eve, but he also punished the serpent for, quote unquote, tricking Eve, even though he didn't really trick her because he was right. Adam and Eve were able to know the same amount of information as God. You could say, yeah, it's the original sin and all that, but according to scripture, Adam and Eve now have knowledge. Let me show you. I won't get too much in the weeds. We're just doing this to talk about Jade and Tabitha and From. I know some people are tender, they're soft, touchy-feely, overly sensitive. Don't worry. I won't go in. I'm just going to read it, give my take. If you want to fast forward, if you want to cover your ears like the Mormons do whenever someone comes in and says, it's all lies here, it's all lies. You can do that. The story is written by the victor. So I personally don't believe that the actual creator of all things that created the Big Bang and who will create the Big Crunch, who created all life, I don't believe that creator is the character that's in the Bible. So I do believe in God. I just don't believe in the character in the Bible and in different stories being God. I think that's man's way of using storytelling to try to understand something supernatural. Because something supernatural is just something that is beyond the laws of nature and things we don't understand. So supernatural is magic, God, religion. It even could be aliens to a certain extent. It's just supernatural is something that we don't understand. And I think that we don't understand what and who the real creator is. And that's the reason why evil things happen in the world, because it's by chance or by someone making a choice. And a lot of stuff is just by luck. There is no invisible person in the sky who has all this power and is sitting back watching teddy bears get abused or watching evils of the world and saying, hey, you're being judged. And for those that are like, no, that's not the case. There's different verses like Hebrews 4, chapter 4, 12 through 13, for the word of God is alive and active. And I believe, okay, if that's the case, then why write a book? Jeremiah chapter 25, verses 1 through 14. Basically, God will destroy you if you don't do what he says. The last one I'm going to use, John 17. For the law was given through Moses, grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. Verse 18, no one has ever seen God but the one and only Son, who is himself God and is in the closest relationship with the Father. He has made him known. What John is saying that's in the Bible is that no one has ever seen God. Yet there's different stories, including Moses and Adam and Eve, that have walked with God, talked with God, and looked at God. So there's no way that no one has ever seen God except for Jesus, basically, if you got all those other stories of seeing God. And so I think that what we call God, what the character in the Bible is based off of, the creator, is energy, no different than a pure energy being like the Deadlights, Gone, maybe even the boy in white, the man in the yellow suit. Like their avatar is what we see in our 4D perspective, but their actual form we can't see. That's how I take it. So in other words, an avatar was walking with Adam and Eve, not the actual God. And it makes sense if that's the case. Same way you have Darkseid, Avatar, fighting Superman. Pennywise, the dancing clown, it is an avatar of the Deadlights. These are not their true forms, because their true form is at a state of existence that's higher than 4D that we can't comprehend. Because we can't comprehend, we don't see it. But then every now and then they will use the energy from their true form and even show their true form, and you immediately die or go catatonic because we can't perceive it. And also the energy from it overloads the energy and electricity in our brains to to where it makes instant death, go catatonic, and even get a seizure. That's why I mentioned this whole thing about the Bible and God, is that's how my perception is with the reason why people are having seizures in the township. It's the boy in white is communicating with them directly in his true form, and it overloads them. Remember, the serpent that was in the Garden of Eden, God made the serpent. So God knew the serpent was going to tempt them sooner or later. Same way that God and Satan or Lucifer made a wager on Job. I wouldn't be surprised if God allowed this to happen to test them. But remember, Adam and Eve were like children in adult bodies. God gave them rules, but didn't fully explain everything to them because they're children. They don't know any better. So when the serpent came around, he said to the woman, did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden? So remember, God told Adam not to eat from the tree in the middle of the garden. He didn't tell Eve that. So when the serpent went to Eve and said, did God really say you, talking about Eve, must not eat from any tree in the garden? The answer is no, because God told that to Adam. Adam told it to Eve. The woman said to the serpent, we may eat from the tree in the garden, but God did say, you must not eat from the tree that is in the middle of the garden, and you must not touch it or you will die. So God was talking to Adam, wasn't talking to Eve. That's why when Eve ate from it, nothing happened. No one really just explained what would happen afterwards, why you shouldn't do it. If you've ever raised a child or children before, you know this. Sometimes some children, they gotta feel that fire is hot to understand what hot means. You can't just simply describe it. You can't just simply show it. You can't show them the aftermath. They have to do it themselves to fully understand what they're dealing with. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. And so that's what I think is happening in this situation, that it has to be explained to them, and they have to be able to put their hand on the stove. Oh, it's hot. But you can't just condemn them forever when they don't really fully understand what they're doing, because they're children. I mean, they just got made. Even though they're adults, they're basically babies. We're talking about like infants in adult bodies. But God did say, you must not eat from the tree in the middle of the garden, and you must not touch it or you will die. So the serpent says, you will not certainly die. For God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. So the serpent is not lying. You will not certainly die. He was telling the truth. The serpent was telling Eve about knowledge. But like the man in the yellow suit said, knowledge comes with a cost. It's going to cost you something. So the serpent was not lying. The serpent was telling the truth. For God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened like Tabitha and Jade, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. So now, to me, Tabitha and Jade are just like the man in the yellow suit, maybe even the boy in white. When the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye and also desirable for gaining wisdom, she took some and ate it. So, gained wisdom. I'm going to say this much. Back when it was antebellum slavery, I know you all may not want to talk about it, but back when it was antebellum slavery, one of the key aspects of the industrial enslavement complex, I just made that up, was you couldn't read, you couldn't write. Because if you could read and write, then you could understand and you could have wisdom. A lot of times when people want to control you, they want to keep you ignorant. Think about how Tabitha and Jade were spinning their wheels, trying to solve the mysteries, didn't understand stuff. Even everybody in town, like no one knows what to really do. So if you don't know what the instructions are, how can you truly pass a test, or how can you truly win at a game? Because being in Fromville, you're basically playing a rigged game because you don't know the rules. Whereas the opposition knows the rules, you're ignorant. There's no way you can win and you can give yourself an advantageous position. You're ignorant. However, Tabitha and Jade, now that they've gained wisdom, they have a fighting chance. Even if the previous versions have done this before, they still get a fighting chance by gaining wisdom. So she took some and ate it. She also gave some to her husband who was with her and ate it. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, like Jade and Tabitha, and they realized they were naked. So they sewed fig leaves together and made coverings for themselves. Now, some people call this the original sin and the fall of man. As in, you doing this removed you from being in paradise. And now you have a hard life because of it. So if you think about it in terms of the show From, if we're going down this road as far as this theory, that means basically that Jade and Tabitha are going to have a harder existence now that they've gained this knowledge. Then the man and his wife heard the sound of the Lord God as he was walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And they hid from the Lord God among the trees of the garden. But the Lord God called to the man, "Where are you?" He answered, "I heard you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid." And he said, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree that I commanded you not to eat?" So at this point, Adam is demonstrating that he knows things. He knows that he knows he's naked. He knows things. He has consciousness. He's aware. So like I was saying, as far as the different dimensional planes, when you're aware of stuff, you're able to perceive things different. I think that's the reason why the boy in white can be seen by some and not others, because there are some people they're just not aware. So being aware means you can now see it, whereas the whole time you couldn't see it. So the man in the yellow suit has probably been walking around this whole time, but now people are aware of his existence because eyes were opened. Now that Jade and Tabitha's eyes are opened, now it may be the entire town's eyes are opened, not just Jade and Tabitha. And he said, "Who told you you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree that I command you not to eat from?" That's how. So God knows if they're no longer ignorant, they must have ate from the tree of knowledge. They're no longer ignorant. They can now learn and they can be wise. The man said, "The woman you put here with me, she gave me some fruit from the tree and I ate it." And the Lord God said to the woman, "What is this you have done?" The woman said, "The serpent deceived me and I ate." I mean, that could really be Tabitha. Jim could be the serpent, figuratively. And so this is where it gets a little bit oppressive and suppressive to women, because he doesn't say, "Adam, you ate from the tree and I'm punishing you." He says to Adam, "Because you listened to your wife." Every time a woman wants to debate I'm not sexist or anything, but every time a woman wants to debate the Bible and defend it, I'm like, but you do realize that it's written to where because of your gender, you're viewed as less than, and that's the reason why women were considered third-class citizens right below their own sons. Like, you do realize that, right? And a lot of them are like, it ain't like that anymore, and this and that. I'm like, but you're defending it when it was like that. Anyways, it's written, because you listened to your wife and ate from the fruit of the tree about which I commanded you, you must not eat from it. In other words, it's almost like saying that Eve is the reason Adam ate from the tree, not Adam making his own choice. Further going into the fact they were ignorant. They didn't have the ability to use logic and reasoning and have an understanding because they were ignorant. It wasn't until they ate from the tree that they actually had the ability to use logic and reasoning and make actual decisions versus being like children that don't know any better. Remember, Adam went through a whole naming ritual where he named everything. And so Adam named his wife Eve.
Get your tea and your popcorn, because this is going to be another good one.
And the Lord God said, "The man has now become like one of us, knowing good and evil." Who's the us? Some people say the us is God talking to the angels. Some people say the us is God talking to Jesus. Some people say the us is God talking to the serpent. I think that the character God in the Bible is talking to us, the reader. He is breaking the fourth wall and talking to us, the reader. in this entire section of Genesis, there isn't anyone that's with God that he's talking to, except for Adam and Eve and addressing the serpent. Who else would be there except for those four characters? And I mean, if you're talking about the angels or Jesus, are they there not saying anything? They don't have any speaking roles? Or is it that his voice can be heard by all creation? We don't know. All we know is the man. It's got to be angels, Jesus, or Satan, or whatever, referring to Adam as the man, has now become like one of us. Adam and Eve are now like God. They now have the ability to learn and do for themselves and be self-sufficient, even be independent. Even though the road is hard, they can be reliant on themselves. And we know in the future, there's a book that deals with the Tower of Babel, where all the people came together, one team, one fight, and they built the tower. God didn't like it. He struck it down and scrambled everyone's languages. So there's a lot of oppression and suppression in the Bible by the character God, but I digress. You could even say that the character God is like the man in the yellow suit. Wants people to be ignorant, wants to control people, and took Jim out because Jim was helping people's eyes be opened. I think there's going to be an awakening in town, and I think Jim may have been like the catalyst due to that, and that's why Jim's life was taken. But now Jade and Tabitha remember who they come from. Their eyes are open. They're no longer ignorant. Now they more than likely know the rules by remembering each of their reincarnations and remembering what they did and what worked and what didn't work. They were blind and now they see. He must not be allowed to reach out his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat and live forever. Because basically, if you're able to live forever, you would basically become a god. And thinking about Fromville in the Bible, everyone wants to get to heaven, but really, wouldn't it be more of a value add to focus on getting to the tree of life and eat and live forever? So I think the original Jade and original Tabitha in this theory, they wanted the tree of life. They didn't want to see what was on the other side. They probably were thinking if God wanted us in heaven, he would have put us in heaven as opposed to having us on earth. But that tree of life is still here. So they were banished from the Garden of Eden to work the ground from which they had been taken. After he drove the man out, he placed on the east side of the Garden of Eden a cherubim was put to guard the way to the tree of life. And thinking about the upside down being a bridge and the further being a dimension before you get to heaven and anywhere else, Fromville could be the way or the path to get to the tree of life. And the man in the yellow suit could be a cherubim that was guarding the path, but he's failed. And he's failed because the original townspeople got to the tree of life one way or another, and they have everlasting life. And maybe they made him go crazy, and he got rid of Jim to stop the original Jade and Tabitha from being on the path to get to the tree of life. Somehow Fromville was created in order to present a path there. Because once you have, even though you may be a creature, if you want to live forever or die and be brought back, you don't really need heaven because you got what you wanted. So Straight Cheese 2892, thank you for the super thanks and being a channel member. It says, love these new videos where you respond to other channels' theories. My unanswered question is, when Kenny and Jim stayed in the small village, what was the point of focusing on the scarecrows? Once it was knocked over, nothing came of it. So I responded, said, thank you for the super thanks. Zooming in on the metal figure sculpture may have been for shock value. Wouldn't be surprised if it is revealed that Miranda made them while on LSD or experiencing psychological effects when she stopped using. Maybe season 4 will reveal more about the settlement, and the sculptures could be considered art. So thank you, Straight Cheese, for the super thanks and being a channel member. I appreciate it. Amanda Kenny with another super thanks. Thank you. She says, awesome video. Another channel membership. I said, I will be cranking out reaction videos in spades. Straight Cheese, channel member. Thank you for the super thanks. These people out here giving kindergarten thoughts while you providing Harvard theories. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. School is in session and the channel memberships or channel membership. Thank you, Adventurous Exile, for being a channel member and doing the super thanks. You remind me of Butter because you were on a roll, like the Civil War theory. Said thank you. Kind of zooming through these because I've kind of eaten up enough of your time as it is. Thank you, Amanda Kenny, for the super thanks. She gave it on the Civil War for season 4. Civil War for season 4. A Civil War would be 3 seasons in the making. And there it is. There it is. We did it, y'all. We did it. So let me ask you this. How many people did the cicadas actually unalive or eliminate? We only know Paula. Paula was found, and when she was found, this is what prompted Boyd to tell everyone, don't go to sleep. So no one else went to sleep. And then the cicadas went and possessed Julie, Marielle, Randall. This is the only death by the cicadas. And the Music Box Monster. Allegedly by the Music Box Monster and the cicadas. Really, it's the cicadas. Because I think the Music Box Monster is just a beacon that brings other monsters together. This is basically blamed on the cicadas. This is the only death in the entire show, seasons 1, 2, and 3 combined, where there is a death that the townspeople believes is linked to the cicadas and the Music Box Monster. And that's why Boyd said, don't go to sleep. But let's look at this scene with a fresh pair of eyes.
She said she was going to take a nap.
Okay. So Reggie is saying that Paula said that she was going to take a nap. So she went to sleep.
I was downstairs. And I heard her screaming. I came in, I started shaking her and...
So when he came upstairs and she was screaming, he came up and she was not in this condition. She was in a normal condition.
Trying to wake her up, and she was talking in her sleep.
Talking in her sleep. Uh-oh. So based off this video that we're doing now, in theory, when someone is asleep, having a seizure, a vision, really everything in the show, their soul has left their body and they're story walking or astral projecting. Their soul or spirit person has left their body.
Saying something over and over.
Wait a minute, saying something? When Elgen was asleep, he was saying he was hearing the nursery rhyme from The Boy in White. Okay, hold on.
Over. And then she
So Paula was saying something in her sleep. Spirit left her body. And this happened while she was asleep. Okay, let's keep going.
And her face. God, Jesus.
What did she say?
What did she say?
What?
You said she was talking. What did she say?
I'm not taking up for the cicadas or the Music Box Monster, but even though they've been tormenting people and trolling and everything like that, this is the first time the cicadas and the Music Box Monster have actually taken someone's life. Because remember, when the cicadas possessed Marielle, Randall, and Julie, their souls were put into the dungeon. And I think that the music box monster and the cicadas were feeding off their souls, but it wasn't an instant kill like this right here. This is like an instant kill. Why wouldn't it be consuming Paula's soul person? Julie, Marielle, and Randall, I mean, they were in the dungeon for like a minute for Boyd to figure out to go and get them from the dungeon and go in there with the torch and everything. Matter of fact, so much time has passed that Reggie ended up shooting Boyd and Boyd took out Reggie. But Paula's an instant kill, it seems like, because she took a nap, was screaming, and then when Paul came up, she was saying something in her sleep.
I need you to tell me what she said.
They touch.
They touch.
They break.
What?
They steal. No one here is free.
Wait a minute.
She just...
So Paula heard the same nursery rhyme in her sleep that Elgen heard in his sleep or during that seizure from the boy in white? Interesting. Because this is the only time that the cicadas have allegedly taken anyone out. I'm going to say this much. The boy in white did this. You could say the man in the yellow suit. You could say that. But the only time that we have linked a seizure, or we'll just say someone being asleep and hearing the nursery rhyme, has been the boy in white talking to Elgen. Now, you could say that the man in the yellow suit was saying the nursery rhyme on the phone to Kenny, but Kenny woke up with a burn mark on his arm. He didn't wake up like Paula. So the man in the yellow suit and the boy in white have both said the nursery rhyme. I think it's reasonable to believe that possibly the boy in white more than likely did this, just because when Kenny was having his thing with the cicadas, Tien Chen Lu was able to shake him and wake him up, whereas he wasn't able to wake up Paula. That piece right there, if it was the man in the yellow suit or even the cicadas, you could have been woken up like Kenny was woken up. But with Elgen having the seizure and hearing the boy in white, he couldn't be woken up. So I'm leaning more towards the boy in white to cause Paula to do all the screaming and stuff in her dream, and the boy in white took her out and almost took her out in a way to make it look like the creatures did it, like Sarah did to Toby season 1. I think that originally it was unknown if it was going to be Toby or Jade in the hospital. Sarah was told to take out that person, and it was unknown who that person was. And Sarah took out the wrong person. She was supposed to really take out Jade and make it look like the monsters did it. I think the boy in white took out Paula and did it in a way to make it look like the monsters did it. Because again, the cicadas, this is the first time we've heard of the cicadas actually terminating in a dream, and they could have got Kenny, but they didn't. Since they could have taken out Kenny and only burnt his arm, we know this is not the work of the cicadas, in my opinion. So now it's between the boy in white, the man in the yellow suit. The man in the yellow suit was talking to Kenny on the phone in that same dream. Kenny woke up. You could say plot armor, but I'm going to say that it was the boy in white. Elgen was able to handle the boy in white, speaking to him directly. Paula could not. The boy in white took out Paula and made it look like the creatures did it to motivate Boyd to go destroy the music box monster, because the music box monster and the cicadas were a threat to the boy in white and his plan. What do you think? What do you think? Let me know in the comment section your thoughts. Thumbs up the video, share everywhere. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Go forth, do great things, and I'm out. Peace. Peace.
The future's not ours to see.